He's getting older.
Hit the volume button.
But not wiser.
Hello there.
This is the Lefty Show.
Welcome, everybody, to the Lefty Show. How are all of you this Saturday? Lovely Saturday, episode number 10 of the Lefty Show, welcoming all of you watching faithfully on YouTube, perhaps one day on iTunes. We will see. I thank you all for joining me today. Hope you're all having a lovely Saturday. Thank you to everybody listening, liking, favoriting, subscribing on YouTube. YouTube.com/LeftyOX is where you can find the Lefty Show. You can also follow me on Twitter at Lefty643. Thank you to everybody that's sharing the show with your friends, your family, your coworkers. You know they love podcasting. You know they do. You know they love it. You know they love the Lefty Show. So just head on and be like, hey, man, check out the Lefty Show. That's what you should do. Let's listen, mom and dad, brother and sister, girlfriend and her parents, boyfriend and his parents. Let's listen to the Lefty Show all together. Then you guys can go out and find it on your own, download it, listen to it, and like it, and favorite it. And you can do all those things. Thank you to everybody that's been doing that. Hey, coworkers, my boss, what's going on, man? You like podcasting? Of course you do. Check out the Lefty Show. Thank you to everybody that's doing that. Everybody that's been donating, helping keeping the show going. I appreciate it. There's a link in the description if you're interested. If you want to donate, help out, keep the show going. Improvements need to be made to the studio for production quality, and getting the show on iTunes, hosting a daily podcast can get kind of pricey. And if you want to help out, the show is brought to you by I'mRaising.com, powered by I'mRaising.com, and you lovely people. I'mRaising.com/643 Productions. That's a little P on Productions. I'mRaising.com/643 Productions. If you want to donate, that's where you can do it. Thank you to everybody that's been doing that. You guys have been amazing. Been absolutely fantastic. Now, I'm going to try to get the balancing right, because for some reason, for some completely unknown reason, the balance of the show has been off. My voice, the feed coming off my microphone, for some reason is panned slightly to the left. Just to the left. Just a little bit. And in post-production, for the last week, I haven't been really able to tell. I was, quote, healthy when I started the Lefty Show, but this entire week, the second week of its existence, I've been sick. Or, well, what I thought was allergies, and then subsequently probably sick. And I'm still a little bit sick. You can probably hear it in my voice. Doing much better, though. But my ear's been plugged. Or coming in and out of pluggedness. It's like a butt plug that won't stay in. Am I right? It's been coming in and out. It's been phasing in and out of pluggedness. And in post-production, I can't tell what is actually a pan to the left and what is just things not sounding right in my headphones because my right ear is plugged. There's been an honest-to-God issue with getting that right. Now I know some of you that are audio engineers that are listening out there. Apparently there are a few. I'm going to say, well, just look at the levels in your post-production program. And I did that. However, all of a sudden I did it in Adobe Premiere, and when I rendered it out, it was panned almost completely to the right. The levels worked fine. It sounded okay in my headphones. Again, my right ear was plugged. But when I rendered it out, it was almost completely panned to the right. So I had to re-render it, and I just completely undid the balance work I did and rendered it out. So some of you I've noticed some of you noting in the comments that there's been a slight pan issue. And that is the case, but I've been trying to nail it down, but I'm handicapped in doing so because one of my ears is plugged, and apparently Adobe Premiere isn't the best source. The levels aren't really indicative of, on the master track, and I pan the audio track of the video file, and the master track levels, they go in sync, and I render it out, and then it's just completely panned to the right. So I apologize for that. Scoozy. Lefty says Scoozy. This is one of the very few times I will use that sound drop because Lefty does not apologize. Not for anything nor anybody. I'm just kidding. I apologize Well, I apologize for saying that I won't apologize, because I do apologize. And again, I apologize for that slight technical snafu. Trying to get it under control. Hopefully this fucking thing goes away, whatever it is that's fucking me up. I might even take some antihistamines, because maybe it's like an episode of House where there's conflict. Maybe it's one thing, it's two things at the same time, and we're treating one thing, but the patient is still getting worse. And how could that be? Because there's two things wrong with the mouse. Mother of God. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe this is an allergy issue compounded by just a slight, I don't know, sickness or something. I got to get down with the sickness. That's what I got to do. I got to get up and then promptly and hopefully expeditiously get down with the system and the sickness. And the sickness, not the system, the sickness. That's what I got to do. I spoke of studio improvements earlier, and oh my God, here's the thing, right? Having money, having a little bit of cash around is sometimes almost as bad or possibly even worse than not having it, because it's easy to, I'll talk about me, but you can frame it however you want in your head when you're listening to me yammer on. Whether it's you want a car, you want new clothes, you want, for some unlucky people, you want to go to the nice grocery store and get some stuff. You want, let's say, a new watch. You want new things, or you want something else. You want to build upon what you have or add something that you don't. And it's easy to covet that which you just simply can't afford. Everybody can look at an Aston Martin and say, oh, man, I would love having that car. I would love to have me an Aston damn. I saw one on the road the other day. I was driving somewhere, and I heard a throaty rumble coming up. My car's got dual exhaust, but it's Grand Marquis. It sounds nice in a concrete parking structure, in a multi-level parking structure. It sounds like a badass car. It does. And if you're near the exhaust and it's just idling, you get that little throaty rumble and the blub, 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 blub. And it sounds nice. It sounds better than just the stock exhaust on many cars. And because it's a V8, it doesn't sound like, like it's a two-stroke, lawnmower engine or something. But I heard one that was very distinctly like, this is a car that's either had work done or is specifically designed to kick the shit out of anything on the road. And then pulling up beside me was not an electric blue, probably a navy blue colored Aston Martin Roadster. The top was up. It was the convertible kind. The top was up, but it just sounded, and it looked awesome. And I looked at it, and I watched the guy drive by, and he wasn't driving like a jackass, dude. People drive a little bit over the speed limit. I tend to drive the speed limit, and he's just doing a little bit over, not doing a 55 and a 40, probably doing 50 and a 45 maximum. So it wasn't driving like a jackass, so I didn't have to view him through that lens, through the jackass lens, when you see somebody driving like an a-hole. So, but I see it, and I thought, oh man. If only. If I had the number one podcast on iTunes, if PKA was number 2, that's not why he called number 3, or vice versa, I would love to have an Aston Martin. And then I remembered, none of those things are close to being true. This is not going to be the number one show on iTunes, probably ever. Painkiller Already is on iTunes, but we're not hosting it, and we're not making any money off of it. The fact that it's hosted on, that's not why he called, is on iTunes and doing well, but again, not the number one spot. And I am so far away from the things that would even qualify me to get this thing that I am currently coveting that, oh, damn it. And so it's easy for people, easy for anybody to look upon which hold on a sec. Look upon that which they cannot afford and be envious and be desirous and say, oh man, I want that. I want that Rolex watch. There's a $500 watch that looks really nice. Oh man, but are you really going to spend $500 on a watch? Whatever your watch budget is, everybody has a watch budget. It could be zero, or it could be, non-zero, not negative though. But whatever your watch budget is, it probably doesn't include $500. It's probably not that large, but you still look at the $500 watch and you think, oh boy, wouldn't that be nice? Oh, wouldn't it be nice? Da, 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 da. And you have that little moment in your head where you picture yourself with it, with whatever the item is. For me, it's a microphone. I look at the Electro Voice RE20 or the Electro Voice RE27, and I do research on it because it's easier for me to not only covet the item, but to then play the little mental game of how do I justify this? How do I rationalize this? How do I rationalize? Obviously, it would be silly of me to spend $450 or $500 on a microphone for middling podcasting. It would be silly. It just would. I'm not Woody's Gamertag, who has an Electro Voice RE20. And it would be silly of me in the meta sense to try to do that. However, let's try my best at rationalizing this. Let's try, well, it is my business. Yeah, it is a business expense, and it's a write-off, and the better sound, of course, because the only thing that's here, the only thing that's keeping this show, of course, between just a struggling, middling shitcast and the Adam Carolla show, or the Joe Rogan Experience, or Star Talk Radio with Neil deGrasse Tyson, the only thing between the big dogs and this shit show is audio quality. And the RE27 or the RE20 would fix that. So, I could totally do it. And then either I espouse these thoughts to Katie and she just looks at me. she gives me a look. She communicates.
Stupid bitch. She
communicates that via her eyes. She just looks at me when I'm like, well, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. Bitch. She comes at me with stupid bitch. Like, you're just an idiot. I'll start talking.
Cut that bitch off.
And she'll just look. No, the eyes will pierce. The eyes will pierce, and I'll have nothing left. Okay, I'm sorry. And I'll go on about my business. However, all that being said, you can covet. Everybody does. I'm sure everybody listening here wants something and perhaps even routinely looks at something. You want a new graphics card. You want new 4K monitors. You can't afford them. You can't even begin to afford them. And it would be even if you do have the money, the cash in your bank account to like you say, if you liquidated, you could go to Best Buy and buy that 4K TV. You could go to Amazon or to Newegg and get that brand new graphics card, that kick-ass, top-of-the-line. Apparently the Titan Z was canceled. I didn't know. You can get that Titan. You can get that 290X. I believe it's the R290X or R290, the AMD card. You can get those cards. You can do it. It would be, unless it's your business and you can rationalize it like that, it would be silly for you to do. So liquidating to get an item a luxury item that you covet is silly, but you still think about it in your head. It's like those intrusive thoughts where you're driving down, or when you're driving down the highway and you're going under a bridge and you think, man, if I just turned the wheel slightly and drove into that abutment, this would all be over. And I assume it gets really bad if you're holding a loaded firearm, which would be a weird feeling for me because I would not only be aware, I don't own guns, and I've never shot a real gun. I've shot a pellet gun. I have a pellet gun. It was old, and I had it since I was a kid. But I've never shot a real gun, and it's been offered to me. People, friends of mine that have guns, or you can go to a range and rent guns. People say, let's go to a range and we'll shoot. I said, well, I never shot before. They say, well, that's a perfect place to do it. You go to a range, you take the class, they teach you, and it's a great place to learn how to shoot a weapon if you've never done it before. But first of all, I realized if I get a loaded weapon in my hand, not that I would do it, but I would always have that thought in my head of, I've got 9 rounds in this magazine, or 12 rounds in this magazine, 1 in the chamber. That's 13. There's about 15 people here. There could be a mass homicide right here. And not only would I be aware of that in myself, I would be aware of that in everybody else in the place. Everybody else that's holding a weapon in their hand, a loaded firearm with bullets upon bullets upon bullets, I would be thinking, what if those guys are having those thoughts? And what if those guys act on it? Oh, shit, I don't want to be here anymore. This isn't fun for me. So everybody has those intrusive thoughts. And likewise, everybody has those quick rationalizations. You see something that you know you can't afford. You know you can't afford that. When you walk into Sam's Club, what's the first thing you see? What's the first up front in Sam's Club or Costco or whatever big box store are the big-ass expensive items, the big-ass TVs selling for $700, $800, $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 right there. And you have to walk by them to get to other things that you actually probably need. But as you walk by those TVs, you think, oh, man, I did get that bonus at work. The check should clear in a couple days. And the TV I'd have is like 3 years old. And, Netflix is going to be rolling out 4K streaming pretty soon. And it would be future-proofing my living room. I almost have to do this. You get to a point where you say, I almost have to. I would be stupid not to do this at this point. It would be, how could I even think not to do this? Other part of my brain, shut up. This is what we're doing now. This is so very clearly the best possible course of action for myself, my family, and my future. We're going to do this. This is going to happen. And I get frequent flyer miles if I put it on my credit card. And it would help my credit score because I can pay it off now, but I put $3,000 on my credit card and I pay it off. Well, it's everybody wins. Everybody wins. We're doing this. And you have that thought in a picosecond. Well, not in a picosecond. I don't know. I don't know exactly how fast thoughts travel in brains, but I'm pretty sure it's limited to how fast neurons transmit. And I think that's in milliseconds, I want to say. Anyway. But you have that thought in a fraction of a second, suffice it to say. You have those racing thoughts. You see it, you like it, you covet it, and then you immediately rationalize it, and then something somewhere finally gets too loud. Reason, they call it. I think people call it reason. Say, no, that's stupid. So I've been looking at a microphone, and the RE20 and RE27 are some of the best in the business. Woody loves the Shure SM7B, and it's a fantastic microphone. Fantastic. I'm not a fan of the fact that it looks like it would be really hard to get it in a shock mount, because I do lots of moving when I'm recording, especially this kind of stuff. I touch the microphone a lot. Excuse me. I touch the microphone a lot, and I do typing. I shuffle things around, and the boom arm that the mic rests on is fastened to my desk. And so any tapping on the desk is going to be transmitted, if there isn't a shock mount like there is for my Rode Procaster, is going to be transmitted through the boom arm, through the microphone, and then through the microphone audio feed. And the Mike Francesa is a sports radio guy in New York, and he's just a big idiot. He's just a big idiot. Just that Long Island sound, or Long Island, New Yorky sound. He doesn't enunciate well. He's not very articulate. It's just a lot of mumbling and a lot of stumbling and bumbling. He's just a big buffoon. But somehow, meatheads in New York have listened to this guy for decades. And he uses the Shure SM7B, and if you listen to his show, you'll constantly hear thumping like this. Pretty sure you're hearing that in the microphone. You'll hear stuff like this. This is probably more like it. You'll hear that. Not at that cadence. It'll be And what he's doing is he's moving the microphone boom arm on his Shure SM7B. And you can see it because it's simulcast with video and stuff. And I wouldn't like that. I wouldn't like that in the background, and I try to limit it as much as possible. And it would be doubly worse if I'm typing on a keyboard, because I'm pretty sure Mike Francesa probably doesn't know how to use a keyboard. I do, and I would use it during my recordings, and I just don't want that transmitted, especially with gaming and stuff. I'd have to swap out mics. And it's just a big worry for me. And I could try to isolate it, yeah. But I just don't like and I like the shock mount look. It looks professional. It does. So, Electro Voice Shure and Electro Voice are pretty much the mainstays in the broadcasting business, in the sound recording business, as far as dynamic microphones go. But those mics are expensive. And $450, yeah, business expense, yeah, better sound, yeah, bullshit. There's a part of my brain that's, all right, Lefty, bullshit. What else you got? Business expense, bullshit. You've got a microphone that works right now. And it's less than half the price of the one you're looking at right now. And it sounds relatively okay. In terms of quality, bullshit, because it sounds relatively okay. Tax write-off, bullshit. Same reason. It's cheaper. Let's see what else. Again, clear sound, yeah, but not $250 extra better. Backup microphone, bullshit, because again, you could have the $200 Rode Procaster. You could just get another one as a backup. And what are you really doing, you dumbass, to your microphone that you need a backup? And so, okay, damn it, fucking brain, shut up. So I was I had to abandon the idea of the RE20 and the RE27, because nice and flashy though they may be, it's just not reasonable. Practical purposes aside, and it is a good idea to bet on yourself and all that stuff and invest in your business. I get it. But, JP Morgan Chase could invest in Lamborghinis for all their bank branch managers. They could. And that would be a business expense and a business investment, and it could be rationalized. I want my branch managers to be really happy. Fuck, they could do it for their tellers, especially they got all that money. They've got it all. They've got bailouts. They got billions in the bank. Well, they are a bank. And we want our tellers to be happy. Happy tellers make for happy customers. They're going to have a pleasant experience. Everybody's going to want to bank, and more importantly, pay interest on their loans to JP Morgan Chase Bank. And they're going to do all those things. They're going to pay fees, and it's going to be great. It's going to be great. And they're going to give us capital that we can use to invest, and we'll pay them interest, but what we make on our investments will overshadow completely the interest that we are forced to pay out. It is going to be great. It's going to be amazing. So now you have just rationalized buying every single teller that works for every single branch of JP Morgan Chase Bank a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or a Porsche, if you want to, or a BMW if you want to be cost conscious about it, a Beamer. What have you just done to your company? You can, again, it is a business expense, and you are investing in your business, and you are hoping, and you have rationalized the positive result. So everybody does it. I've been doing it with a microphone. However, there was an oft forgotten, I even forgot about it, cousin of the Electro Voice RE20, RE27. The Electro Voice RE20 is like the older brother that was varsity letterman in high school, was getting college scholarships, did the deal. He was the All-American. He was the Jack Swagger, the American's American. And he was the letterman in football, did it in college, did well in college, graduated college, is now working a stable job. He's got the white picket fence and all that stuff. He's been around the block. The RE27 is his younger brother, who is not only an All-American in football in high school, he's an All-American baseball player. He's getting scholarship offers to go play quarterback at Florida State or go into the Major League Baseball draft. That's the RE27. Now, they have a mutual cousin called the RE320, he plays baseball. And he's an All-American, but he's got to go to college to play baseball. He's going to go in the 5th, he's going to go probably in the 10th round if he comes out now of the MLB draft, which would be good. It would be fantastic, but he's got bigger and better plans for him. So he's kind of right in the middle. He's right in the between the two. The RE20 has been around forever and had its heyday, but has since peaked and is possibly going to be surpassed by the RE27. The RE320, it's a good middle ground. And on top of all that, it's $200 cheaper than both of them. And I was listening. I've done my research. I've done my research on the tech behind it, why it works. Well, I mean, I should clarify that. Somebody told me why microphones work the way they do. That doesn't necessarily mean I understand it. I mean, I get it, but the principles of E&M and the exact why of it still kind of escapes me, as it does with most things. Oh my God, do I even ask a special relativity question? I believe it's a special relativity question. I'll ask it hopefully later in the show. Hopefully.
Stupid bitch.
I'm stupid, yeah. Hopefully later in the show, I'll remember my special relativity question for people out there that are smarter than I. However, there's the Electro Voice RE320. I've been looking at it, and it's nice. It's nice, and it's affordable. And I get asked a lot. People ask me, I've got this budget, I've got that for microphones, and I say, look, you don't want to go with a USB microphone. You just don't. They have their own sound cards, and it makes listening to the audio live hard. It makes hearing yourself a little bit in your headphones, which I like, difficult at best. But an analog microphone, a dynamic microphone, or you could also get a condenser microphone, but they're very fragile. If you do a lot of gaming and you hit it, you drop it, you're clumsy, you're going to be spending a lot of money on condenser microphones because they're very fragile. Dynamic microphones, however, dynamic broadcast style microphones give you a similar sound, not as rich and not as deep or clear as a condenser microphone, but a very nice sound, a sound that a lot of people identify with, and they're cheap and they're durable. So the Rode Procaster, I believe, is about $225, and the Electro Voice RE20 is about $290. And I might be upgrading mics soon, and that's something that will be coming to the Lefty Show. A different sound, it's got different settings. I'd have to redo my EQ, but it would be... I've listened to direct comparisons of the Rode Procaster and the RE320, and the RE320, it just sounds better. It just does. So there's going to be a better sound, and hopefully, this gets a little techie, hopefully a little less echoey, because just the native signal coming off the RE320 is a lot hotter, as they say. It's just louder. It picks up a little bit more, or it's amplified a little bit more than, say, most other microphones, which means you don't have to turn the gain up a lot to get a really clear, close to the mic, in your ear sound, which will reduce echoing from a non-perfect studio sound absorption setup. So that is microphone talk for the day.
Bitch, I'm flowing straight from the survival scroll.
Survival scroll it, Reverend X. So that's something that might be coming to the Lefty Show sometime soon, because this echo, oh my goodness. So it's either I invest $500 in sound absorption material for my studio, or I get a $290 microphone. That may help. So that's something that's coming. Okay, special relativity question really quick, because this is just something I can't, this is something you just can't understand. My question is this. I get that regardless of inertial frame of reference, everybody will agree on the speed of light. regardless of my frame of reference, regardless of how I am moving through space-time in terms of velocity, no matter what, I will always measure the speed of light to be c, whatever c is. 1 point, or is it 2.98? Is it 2.98 times 10 to the 8th? 1.9. Ah, shit. I think it's 2.98. I want to say it's 2.98. Anyway, I get that. And also, likewise, people outside of my frame of reference, if they were looking into my spaceship going really fast and I emit a light beam, they will also measure the speed of light. Essentially, the speed of light is a constant. I want to know why. What is it about light that allows it to transcend inertial frame of reference? I can get and accept that it does, but I just want to know specifically why. Is it just equations that explain so much necessitate it to be this, or something else? That is my special relativity question of the day. That'll be a bit. I'll just do that from time to time. We'll just go to me and I'll just ask a question about special relativity. Like, what? Question about, or well, maybe not special relativity because there's only question about theoretical physics. The theoretical physics question of the day with Lefty. I will have, hopefully Neil deGrasse Tyson listens to this podcast so that he can help explain this to me. And he can, basically, it will be a two-way staggered conversation between Neil deGrasse Tyson and myself. 1 week I'll ask a question, the next week he'll answer it. And maybe nobody else can answer it, but he can. And so it will be a bit for just him and I. And everybody else is just kind of watching. Or listening, I guess. Listening is probably probably the best. Let's get into some news. The news with Lefty is summer. Actually, it's kind of spring still. Blah. Anyway, there's a lot been going on in the news. Stuff to talk about today. Biggest news of the day. Chris Brown. I'm just kidding. Not the biggest news of the day, but still, something I want to ask. Chris Brown sentenced to 131 days in jail after admitting probation violation. This is the probation violation, I believe, that stems from him beating the shit out of Rihanna, which he never really, I guess, admitted to beating the shit out of Rihanna because he said, I don't remember. It happened, I guess. But apparently, this is from aceshowbiz.com. Just a fantastic website. No clickbait whatsoever. None at all concerning celebrity news and gossip. But Chris Brown is ordered to stay in jail for a bit more after he admitted to violating his probation by getting into an altercation with a man outside the W Hotel in Washington, D.C. in October. The R&B singer appeared in a hearing on Friday, May 9th in Los Angeles, where he made the admission wearing his orange uniform. Los Angeles County Superior Court Judge James Brandlin, there it is. James, let's start over. Los Angeles County Superior Court Judge James Brandlin then sentenced the singer to 365 days in jail. I love it. Los Angeles County Superior Court Judge James Brandlin. I love it. Get at me, James. Patent pending. Can't use it. Intellectual property rights. Sentenced the singer to 365 days in jail. Brown, however, was given credit for serving 234 days in a rehab facility and behind bars. Therefore, he has 131 days left to serve. Now, I didn't originally think this was a big deal. I didn't really care. Okay. Just another Chris Brown is a gigantic piece of shit. Just your daily reminder or your semi-periodic reminder that Chris Brown beat the shit out of Rihanna and is generally just a gigantic turd. That's your reminder for the day. And I thought, okay, well, Chris Brown's a gigantic turd. Mark that down. I remember it once again. But I started doing a little research because how much trouble has this guy actually been in? Chris Brown? What has he done? Well, first of all, there's the whole Rihanna thing. In 2009, he just beat the ever-loving shit out of Rihanna. Now, this is the first time he was caught for it. Apparently, it was probably an abusive relationship before, but this is the first time it was actually documented in 2009. But here, I was scrolling through Wikipedia, which I trust not as a first-hand source, but I trust it in terms of just the aggregate, just in terms of everybody having eyes on it and the ability to edit it. Eventually, the cream will rise to the top. And what you generally see on Wikipedia, not that you can take it to the bank, but you can click on their little annotations and take those to the bank. There was the June 2012 Entourage incident between him and Drake, in which San Antonio Spurs star Tony Parker had a piece of glass from a champagne bottle in his eye for about a year and a half or something and had to have surgery. Then there was another altercation, a battery with Frank Ocean over a parking space outside of a studio in West Hollywood. Then in January, there were irregularities reported in the records submitted to the court concerning Brown's community service, allegedly. And in October, Brown was arrested for felony assault, outside the W in Washington, D.C. Now, here's the thing, okay? Here's what sparked this whole incident. This is from Wikipedia. It says, allegedly, the fight started when two women wanted to take a picture with Brown in front of the W Hotel. Two men saw Brown and attempted to jump in the photo with them. They tried to photobomb him, all right? We know that. Brown then allegedly said, I'm not into this gay shit, I'm into boxing, and he and his bodyguard threw punches at one of the men. Chris Brown, I am not for the idea of the United States of America being one of the most recidivist countries in the world, and statistically that's apparently borne out. However, I am not for bashing our society for the recidivism of nonviolent criminals, because if you smoke pot and you get charged or cited for a pot crime or a violation of a statute, and then you do it again, you're still going to smoke pot. You're still going to get high. Spending a night in jail for pot possession, and then you spend $2 G's on a lawyer to make it go away, probably isn't going to get you to stop smoking pot. It's not. You're going to continue to get high. You're going to continue to buy, possess, and consume marijuana and be high and be under the influence of marijuana. It's not going to stop just because you spend a night in jail. So you're going to eventually get clipped for it again. And now you're recidivist. Now you have shown, eventually at some point you will demonstrate to the court that blah, 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 blah. But what are you really doing? You're not hurting people. You're not killing kids. You're not killing other humans. You're not maiming other humans. You're not depriving other humans of life, liberty, or the pursuit of happiness. You're not doing any of that. You're getting high. So who cares that you're recidivist? The law is fucked up in the first place. An unjust law is no law. That's the principle that I tend to operate from. So, you're technically recidivist and you're a piece of shit because of that, but drug laws are fucked up in the first place. So, just no. That's not bad recidivism. However, and you're not deemed a bad apple just because you can't stop smoking pot or don't want to stop smoking pot because it's fucking pot or they're fucking drugs. Whatever you want to take and put in your body to get high, to escape from things. Fuck it, man. You're not a bad apple because of that. You shouldn't be facing life in prison for trying to import drugs like the Bears wide receiver whose name escapes me right now. But people were facing life in prison for that, for nonviolent drug crimes. Just trying to move around a little pot. Well, not a little pot, a lot of pot, actually. But, you're not a bad apple. I'm not going to tell you, and I'm not going to advocate, and I'm going to tell other people not to advocate removing you from society because you're a bad apple. Chris Brown, on the other hand, is a bad apple. He's just a turd. This is a bad human being. Not a bad man, not like a, he's evil, but he's just a dysfunctional, broken human. There is a defect in this human. It's like if somebody, oh God, caught myself there. Oh boy. That would have been bad. That would have been an unintentional, honestly, completely unintentional, very, very, very improper thing to say or to imply. Woo! I was going to say something about ownership of Chris Brown, which implies a whole bunch of stupid shit that I didn't want to imply. Okay? So that's where I was going with that. You can put your minds to rest. But if somebody had bought... Shit. Damn it! It doesn't work. How to make this work? If Chris Brown were an action figure, okay? If Chris Brown were an action figure that you bought in the toy store at Target or Walmart or whatever, and somebody bought and returned Chris Brown, somebody bought a Chris Brown action figure, and it starts doing all these things, punching people in the parking lot or punching other toys for trying to take its space in the toy bin, punching its action figurette girlfriend repeatedly a lot, and then blaming the media because Chris Brown actually did blame the media for him and Brianna originally breaking up. He said, "You guys did this." No, Chris, I'm pretty sure you punching her repeatedly in the face did this. And what puts you in jail isn't the media. What puts you in jail is you repeatedly trying to punch people in the face. What are you doing? And if you bought a Chris Brown action figure and it was doing all these things, and it was just, first it beats up its action figure girlfriend, then it beats up another action figure for something, then it beats up another action figure after being punished for those two previous things for trying to be in a picture with it, and then it lies about the community service that it was ordered to do as punishment for beating the shit out of things. What you would then do is you would take that toy, put it back in its box if you still had it, and take it back to Target or Walmart or wherever and say, "This is a defective toy. I do not want this anymore. I want my money back." Chris Brown is just a defective human. I don't care about his musical acumen. Never heard it. I probably heard a song by Chris Brown. Couldn't tell you. Couldn't pick his song out of an audio lineup. Couldn't do it. And I know he's got a lot of fans and a lot of women who would probably pay money to be punched by Chris Brown, not just by his penis, but by his fists. I get that. Popular, but he's just a defective person. Justin Bieber is just a little shitbag. Justin Bieber gets so much hate, much of it warranted, because he's just a little asshole. Just is. You can tell by his by his basketball Instagram videos. You can tell that you're just a little shitbag. You just need a good ass kicking, and you'll probably be all good. But Justin Bieber, there are petitions to deport Justin Bieber from this country for just being a shitbag. But he's not a defective human. He's not just blithely going about committing crimes irreverent of any consequences or of any duty to other people to not punch them in the fucking face. Chris Brown just goes throughout life punching in the face. That's what he does. That's his default, is I'm going to punch you in the face. I'm going to use violence to communicate my point to you. His default response is Rihanna did something he did not like, and his immediate response was, I'm going to beat the ever-loving shit out of you. Frank Ocean apparently did something he didn't like, and over a parking space, and I'm going to beat the shit out of you. These guys tried to photobomb Chris Brown and this lady, And his default response was, I'm going to try to beat the shit out of you. That's a defective human and needs to just needs to go away. I don't mean out of popularity. Chris Brown needs to not be a living, breathing human anymore because this is bad. It's bad to give that person money and allow that person to reproduce. That's not good. Chris Brown, no, I'm putting him on the I hope he gets hit by a bus list. I hope Chris Brown, one day leaving the recording studio, perhaps after freshly punching somebody in the face repeatedly, gets hit by a bus. That would be a good thing for humanity to have Chris Brown get hit by a bus. He's just a defective human. There's another piece of news. One body recovered and still 2 bodies missing from a now deadly Virginia hot air balloon crash. And there's a picture here on the Yahoo News story that showcases the hot air balloon clearly engulfed, or at least the basket, I think they're called. The basket engulfed in a ball of flame. For those of you that don't know, hot air balloons operate on the principle of hot air, and they use I believe they're kerosene powered? I don't even know. But anyway, use things that make fire in the big part of the balloon to heat up the air so that they can go and then they'll let the air cool and they go down. And so, yeah, apparently at least one person dead, 2 missing, probably also dead. And hot air balloons are probably a staple of Americana. Not as big as apple pie and baseball, but hot air balloons in the summer, I'm not sure. This is not to say that they're not popular. I'm just not sure how popular they are outside of the United States, because I've never seen them outside of the United States because I don't live outside of the United States. But in America, hot air balloons in the summer, a staple of what we do. It's as the summer months approach, and as we go through the summer months and the weather heats up and it's all sunny and bright and there are festivals and all these things, people for some reason are like, you know what I want to do? Get in this wicker basket and go up 400 feet in the air, or 300 feet, or whatever it is. I want to go up in this hot air balloon and just kind of see everything, and then come lazily back down to the ground. And there's a lot of it in America. And I've seen it since I was a child, and it was cool because, oh my God, the big Energizer Bunny one, it's holy shit, it's a gigantic Energizer Bunny, that's cool. And then the flames, and you feel the heat from the ignition of whatever fuel they're using to heat up the air in these things and fill them up. That was cool. That's why I loved it. But once they were up in the air, I always looked at them as they were floating around town, and it's just, what are you doing? I mean, okay, you've got this big-ass thing that creates fire, and you go up in the air a little bit. Now you're going somewhere? Where are you going? And what? I mean, yeah, it's cool to see things, and you see the town, you see the surrounding area from a view that not many people have. But I always thought, what if something goes wrong there? I don't know what it is in me. But when I see things like that, I can't help but try to assess the safety precautions. Like, okay, if you go up in a plane, in a small plane, you're doing essentially the same thing. If you go up in a single-engine Cessna, you pretty much have the same flight envelope as a hot air balloon. You're going faster, depending on winds, but you're essentially a hot air balloon with a big engine. But what you can do in a single-engine Cessna is if the engine fails or there's failure, if there's failure of some kind, you can recover from it. A single-engine Cessna, if the engine just stops, the propeller breaks off, you can glide to the ground. You can glide. There are shows where people with a rudder failure, complete rudder failure, people can use the doors on a single-engine Cessna as they come in, or even the propeller, to kind of steer the plane and get the plane to shimmy to one side or the other and land it safely. And if all else goes to shit, you can climb up to the absolute tippity top of what the Cessna can do, and if you have parachutes in an absolute fuck up, there's a way out. And you can parachute from a relatively safe height. There's no guarantee that the parachuting will work, but you give yourself the best possible chance. But when you're in a hot air balloon, and since I was a kid, I said, I can parachute probably out of a plane. I didn't know about the single engine Cessna and all the safety stuff and the what you can do with it was their failure. But I know people jump out of Cessnas, parachute out of Cessnas and those kinds of planes. People don't parachute out of hot air balloons. Nor do I see people going up with parachutes in hot air balloons. So what else is there in the hot air balloon? There's nothing. Not only is there nothing, you have gigantic burning two sources of 6.5, 7 foot flames that you pull it. What happens when those fuck up? Not that they stop working, but when shit starts catching on fire. You play with fire, you're gonna get burned. That's as cliche of an axiom as you can get, but it's true. If you do a lot with fire, eventually the fire is going to spread to where you don't want it to go. And that's going to happen in a hot air balloon, and when it does, because there's nothing else, you're fucked. You are well and truly. Now, I'm sorry for these families. It's sad and tragic, and probably the worst day in their life is probably right now. Probably for that immediate family, that is probably the worst day in their life. To receive that news and to see this all over the news and just it's probably awful. And I don't mean to make light of that, but what the fuck are people doing in hot air balloons? This is not a safe thing, and I don't want to hear about. I don't want to hear about safety record. I don't want to hear about so many flights go up and so many land and people are all okay. Everybody pulls that shit with airplanes too. You're more likely to be killed driving to work than you are in an airplane. I said, well, yeah, but when something goes wrong in a car, I have some semblance of control, and the rate at which the failure leads to death is not the same, because the way they come up with these statistics, and they're misnamed, is that what they're really telling you is you are more likely to be involved in an accident while driving than you are to be involved in an accident while in a plane, while flying a plane, or while a passenger on a plane. And while that's true, when a plane fucks up, whether it be whatever kind of plane, right? Whether it be a propeller plane or a jet plane, when a plane fucks up, chances are people are dying. But when you get in a car accident, that's not exactly the same thing. It's not a given that you're going to die or be maimed. It's not. There are many ways to be in a car accident that don't involve you getting messed up at all. You got to pay a lot of money, or insurance somebody's got to pay a lot of money, and the police might get called, but you're not dead and you're not maimed. And the same holds true for hot air balloons. Yes, not a lot of people die every year, but when something goes wrong, if we are assuming a case in which something goes wrong, it really goes wrong. And this is what you see in the Virginia balloon crash. Now we got to close out the show and the news with some. I'm going to try not to go too long with this. We're already almost an hour in. But recently, an Arkansas Pulaski County Circuit Judge, Chris Piazza, that's a pretty Italian name for Arkansas, struck down an Arkansas constitutional amendment effectively banning gay marriage, probably just defining marriage as between a man and a woman, which is, again, an effective ban on gay marriage. County judge struck it down, and today an Arkansas clerk issues the first gay marriage license, which is a landmark day in LGBT rights. It's from a personal standpoint, it is great to see a group of people, a subset of humanity, finally get to enjoy the rights that many other subsets of humanity have enjoyed for years or decades or even centuries. It's great to see it. And you know what? Usually when they cover stories like this, you know, clerks issuing marriage licenses to homosexual couples or to gay couples, they're the same thing. When they cover stories like this, there's always the picture, the kiss as an officially married couple recognized by the state and via the Equal Protection Clause forced to be recognized by everybody else. And there's always a picture of that first kiss between the first or one of the first couples. And I don't mean to sound shallow about this, but when it's gay, when they're gay guys, I'm not interested. You know, everybody's a little bit gay. Everybody has that just a little bit affinity for cock or whatever genitalia it is that makes them that would be homosexual. I understand that, but it's just when it's, you know, gay 45, 55-year-old guys who've been together for years and have just finally are now exercising their rights, I applaud them. But just, you know, seeing them kissing, it's great in one sense, but also just does nothing for me. It's like, okay, you know, two pudgy guys kissing. It's great. Fantastic. And the same holds true for lesbians, when lesbians are the first in line, when a lesbian couple. When it's two women, they tend to just be, no, where's my porn lesbians? Where are they at? Don't you dare tell me that porn is not real, that it is not indicative of, there's got to be hot lesbians somewhere. There has to be. It can't be that all lesbians dress alike, have short hair, and just don't look very attractive to me. It just can't be that. It can't, or would look attractive to me were Katie not the most wonderful girl in the world. It can't be that way. There's got to be hot lesbians somewhere. Now, well, in this Yahoo story, that's two stories from Yahoo, by the way, making a comeback. Look out, checkmate, Google. This story from out of Arkansas, what are the names of the girls here? Oh, this is great too. It says in the gallery. Let me click on it. Jennifer Rambo and Kristen Seaton. What a great last name, especially if they adopt. I hope they adopt a male child. I hope they do, or not adopt because they're women. They can get pregnant. What the fuck am I talking about? I hope they get pregnant, one of them or both of them, and I hope they have at least one male son who has the last name fucking Rambo. Give that child Jennifer Rambo and Kristen Seaton. Please give one of your male children. Hopefully you have a male child, and hopefully you give that male child the last name Rambo. For the love of God, do me a favor and give that child the last name Rambo. But these two ladies are not looking bad at all. In fact, in one of the galleries, you can see the lesbian couple who would have been on the front page of Yahoo had they gotten up just a little bit earlier. And I'll just say this, they're both wearing pretty much the exact same type of glasses, the exact same haircut. One is wearing a Hawaiian shirt, and the other one is wearing a checkered shirt. Okay? So the prototypical front page, these people just got their marriage license, it's probably not something you would whack off to. Couple, they were right there, but they just got beat out by Jennifer Rambo, fucking awesome name, and Kristen Seaton. I can't fucking believe that. But Jennifer Rambo is such a cool name. I still can't get over it. But so, you know, go to Yahoo, read about a group of people finally conquering, you know, exercising rights that many other people have, and get yourself a look at some not too bad looking lesbians. Enjoy yourselves. Finally, we have broken that mold, and here's to you know, nice looking ladies who are probably going to go home and have themselves some nice we just got married hot lesbian sex. So that's something you can look forward to when you go to Yahoo News. But here's the thing I have. And I don't mean to put it down. I don't mean to put a downer on your proposed hot lesbian sex wank off session. I don't mean to pour cold water on it, so to speak. But I've got it. There's a thing here that troubles me. If you'll indulge me while I blow my nose, I'll play a Lefty Show intro while I clean myself up. We'll be right back.
It's Lefty. This is the Lefty Show.
My apologies for that, ladies and gentlemen. Had a little bit of a to-do with the... you talk for an hour when you're stuffed up, and you try actively to not blow your nose for an hour while you're stuffed up. It's going to build up, and it just couldn't wait anymore. Talking about the not-so-bad-looking lesbians in Arkansas who are going to have hot, we just got married, not-so-bad-looking lesbian sex, my nose couldn't handle it. Couldn't wait anymore. But... This is great. This is great to see. Personally, why can't homosexuals get married? That is the silliest thing in the world to me. To just no institution of marriage. Blah 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 blah. Come on, institution of marriage. Really? How many of those motherfuckers have had divorces? Multiple divorces. And not only were they divorces, they were probably just the worst kind. Just the I'm going to try to eviscerate this other person who not just a couple years ago, till death do us part, huh? Oh yeah. But now I'm hiring my lawyer. That bitch or the man, that asshole. He doesn't fuck for shit. And I got a new, how many of these people who are like, oh, the institution of marriage, just grueling, ugly divorces, how many of them in their track record? But no, the institution of marriage. Okay. All right. Bullshit. So that's great to see. And the tried and true comedian bit, let these people be just as miserable as everybody else. Give them access to that. Let them have their tax write-offs, but let them have their fights over assets and things. And now your credit is gonna fuck up my credit, and we gotta fucking talk. Let him be miserable. Let it happen. These people want to be miserable with each other at times. Let it happen. Who are you, fucking Alabama or Arkansas? Who are you to say no, can't be married? You can get civil unions, but you can't be married because that's ordained by God. Okay, whatever you say. It's, again, great to see on a personal level people getting rights that they should probably have. However, I do have an issue that this wasn't a law passed, just any old law passed by Arkansas. This was not some kind of just a simple majority in both houses of state Congress, and we got ourselves a ban on gay marriage. This was not that. This was an amendment to the Constitution of the sovereign state of Arkansas. That is what constituted the ban on gay marriage in Arkansas. Now, I don't think that's the case everywhere. I think there are only a few states that have made their bans on gay marriage constitutional amendments. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think it's everywhere. I think sometimes it's just a regular old law. Other times it's an amendment to the sovereign's constitution. Now, that's a big deal. When rights, it's great for everybody to have rights, et cetera, but when you start going into not only the Constitution, but the Constitution of a sovereign state, which for those that don't know, in the setup of the United States of America, the federal government gets all the press. The federal government gets all the press. because it's the big, powerful federal government, right? Yeah. Senators are big deals. Just congressmen, representatives, not so much. Senators, big deal. But in actuality, in terms of what is actually going on, the biggest people are the governors of states and the state legislatures. States' rights, because the way it's all set up is each state in the union is defined as a sovereign. It is its own thing. It has power because it's the legal equivalent of I think, therefore I am. They have domain over themselves. The state of Illinois, the state of Arkansas, the state of Alabama, the state of California are all sovereigns that lay down certain rights to create the federal government. The federal government on paper is supposed to be pretty weak, and it was intended to be that way. It was intended for the states to be able to break and recreate the federal government, their federal protection, at will. That was, many argue, one of the original intentions of the framers of the Constitution. And as such, I think it's a pretty big deal when you start going through, celebrate all you want. This is another Donald Sterling thing. Celebrate all you want that Donald Sterling, an old curmudgeon-y racist bastard who committed racism, got his comeuppance and is going to be decimated by the NBA and by the public at large. Go ahead and celebrate that, but be careful and be mindful of the fact that when you go too far in celebrating, what you are celebrating really is being the thought police. Now, in this context, what people are celebrating and what people are championing is the federal or is the government or the powers just saying fuck you to the rights of states, just saying to states' rights. Now, this is a little bit different because it was a Pulaski County judge. It was an Arkansas circuit judge who said, I am part of the judiciary of the sovereign, and I say that this sovereign amendment is... Now, that's probably all in the up and up. However, when we're talking about a federal bans on gay marriage, when we're talking about it at the federal level, be careful. This is all I'm saying, okay? Because, again, I cannot stress enough how silly it is to me to want to restrict the rights of homosexuals. How just absolutely silly it is to treat them like other people, like a different kind of people. That's stupid. It is stupid. However, the sovereign state of Alabama and Arkansas and Mississippi and Florida and anywhere else in the nation, Utah, Idaho, Montana, all these places that are vilified for amending their constitutions, we got to stamp out these bans on gay marriage. It's got to stop. These are all sovereign entities exercising their sovereignty. And what you do when you so willy-nilly go around and say, this has all got to stop, we need a federal law, what you're really saying is fuck you to the sovereign states. It's really an issue between the 10th and 14th Amendments of the United States Constitution. And it goes on from there and gets really technical and legal theory and stuff. And I can't even get into it because I don't understand it well enough. I just don't. But what I do think I understand, at least, and that's the most important part, is that I think it's important not that we don't tread on states' rights, not that we don't look out for people and say, okay, this is what needs to happen, now let's go through and make it so. But what we need to do is be careful about not only what we're doing in the short term, but the long-term implications of that. Because what does it mean on and on and on down the line when the federal government and people rejoice at the federal government just giving a giant middle finger to the rights of sovereign states? Not only just sovereign states, but the sovereign states that are responsible for the federal government to be in the first place. And that's a big deal. Not that it can't happen, not that it absolutely should never happen, but I think it should be a lot less emotional than it appears to be. Not so bad looking lesbians kissing on the on the steps of the courthouse is nice. That's a great photo op and, great for a little... But it should be less visceral, and it should just be more removed, detached. What does this mean if we say, the federal government says, fuck you, states' rights, fuck your rights on this issue? And that's what the 14th Amendment was. Fuck you, the states of the Union, all states of the Union, not just the southern states. Fuck every state of the Union with regards to these set of rights. That might be a big deal. And emotion probably shouldn't play into that. It's great emotionally to see two people able to have a legally recognized bond and what's the word I'm looking for? A legally recognized codification, I'm going to say, of their love and of their devotion to one another. But while that's great and on an emotional level it's satisfying, I don't think that should be the driving force between treading on one of the fundamental principles of this whole thing that we got going on here, this whole setup that we have. I think it would be we would all be best served to remove emotion from the thing. Yeah, it's great. Not so bad looking lesbians making out. It's great. Good. Woohoo. But what does this also mean? What necessitated this emotional thing? It might be something that might not be good. Might actually be kind of bad in the long run. And we should probably all think about that and have a discussion out in the open and not have people vilified. And this is the most important part, not have people vilified as bigots for saying, well, excuse me, perhaps while it's great for homosexuals to be able to get married, while it's great, maybe it should be on them to go find a place to get married, and we should not tread on the rights of a sovereign state so blithely. Maybe, just maybe. And I think that's the discussion that should be had out in the open, and not the emotional one where it's all lesbians and gay dudes kissing, and anybody else who even thinks to dissent is just a gigantic piece of shit, bigot. Like Donald Sterling. Not Donald Sterling bad, but actually maybe Donald Sterling bad. Maybe Donald Sterling bad. Is that the time? We got to go. We got to wrap on the Lefty Show. This has been 10 episodes, baby. 10 damn episodes. I'm loving it. 10 episodes of the Lefty Show. 10 episodes in. 10 episodes strong. I thank you, everybody, for joining, everybody that's made this possible. You know what? If you've been donating, imraising.com/643productions. That's a little P on Productions. A link in the description if you want to donate, help out the show. Studio improvements. Get us and keep us on iTunes. That's where you can do that, and you can donate. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you to everybody that's donated, that said, yes, I like this. Yes, I want to be a part of this. Everybody that watches, everybody that likes the videos, everybody that comments, everybody that looks forward. If you look forward to the Lefty Show, thank you. I appreciate it. I really do. Thank you to everybody that's been sharing this with friends, family, coworkers. That's how the show grows. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you all. Thank you for another successful week. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Stay safe out there. Don't get too crazy. Got a lot coming next week. Hopefully a lot more collections, a lot of great Lefty shows coming your way. YouTube.com/LeftyOX. You want to follow me on Twitter, you can, at Lefty643. Twitter.com/Lefty643. Thank you guys for joining. I hope you enjoyed. I got to get out of here. I'm out. Bye.